Welcome to We Need to Talk about tech, where we talk about the past,
present, and future
of technology.
On this week's podcast, we're talking about potential iPhone 13 rumors.
We're talking about Carl Pei's company Nothing buying the Essential Phone company.
And the landing of the new Mars rover Perseverance.
All right. This past week, NASA's Perseverance Rover landed on Mars. It landed in Mars's Jezero crater at 3:55 p.m. Eastern Time on February 18th, 2021. Now, it was a 7-month journey to the planet. It was a 7-minute descent, the 7 minutes of terror, and it is now starting its 2-year mission. Its mission length, I guess, is one Mars year, which is, I believe, 687 Earth days. 687 Earth days, yeah. I guess, I'm guessing you've heard about the Perseverance rover landing, and what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, 100%. This is one I definitely heard about. I was super excited about. This is so cool. And the coolest part is this is kind of building on what Curiosity did before it. And the coolest part is that Curiosity kind of found evidence that maybe around 4 billion years ago, Mars was covered with water and could have very easily potentially supported life. So Perseverance aim was to say, okay, let's see if we can find proof of that 4 billion year old life. And it's just crazy to think this was considered, the Mars 2020 mission. Like you mentioned, it was launched in July of last year, finally landed, and it was a successful land. NASA was cheering on the moment it touched ground. And there's so much cool stuff going on here. This rover, unlike previous rovers, I can, roam around Mars and find stuff, but it also has a helicopter attached to it that can take aerial kind of reconnaissance of Mars, which is such a cool thing to see happening of okay, no, this is stepping up, because we've had multiple Mars rovers, one that even lasted longer than a decade on the planet of Mars. And this is just taking it to the next level of, okay, let's see what more we can find. And, the idea is potentially even planning a return mission for some of these materials off of Mars to bring it back to Earth so it can be studied even further. And then potentially even, kind of set the groundwork for a manned mission to Mars that could potentially have a successful return as well, which is so much cooler than what we've ever thought in the past. We've heard Elon talk with SpaceX about potentially a mission to Mars, but it would be a one-way trip and type of thing. This is NASA kind of saying, hey, if we can do this, we could plan for astronauts actually going to Mars, landing on Mars, potentially one day, and coming back, doing real studying and real kind of work on what the history of this planet was. Which is crazy, long before human beings ever existed, which is so nuts. And I definitely don't take this for granted. I mean, we live in a time where we could potentially be going into another dark ages with, the idea of science being thrown out the window. So something like this, that's this cool, definitely don't take for granted. I'm so excited to see where this goes, and I'm going to be eagerly waiting to see, what they can kind of find, and if there was potential life on Mars, which is so crazy to hear.
It is crazy to hear. One of the key objectives for Perseverance, as you mentioned, was astrobiology. So they will be searching for signs of ancient microbial life. Kind of one thing that's helping them do that, they have this, it's called the SuperCam, which is an instrument that sticks at the top of the rover, almost like a little robot head. And it actually zaps Martian rocks with a laser beam. And then it will analyze the dust and the cloud that's created from the vapor. And in doing so, it will be able to tell, okay, are these rocks made from volcanoes, or were they created by some sort of water, some sort of liquid running over them? You mentioned, how excited these scientists were, right? when this landed, because it's a planet in our solar system, right? It's not like you're going, okay, we're going to the moon, which is hard enough as it is. This is another planet, right? A 7-month journey. And the reason I said the 7 minutes of terror for the descent, for anyone who doesn't know, signals from the rover, from the shuttle to Mars, take 10 minutes to get back to Earth. So the NASA team that is controlling, running the mission, they can't do any sort of corrections when it's on its descent. So anything that happens, it has to be pre-programmed. Any sort of, alterations that need to happen or adjustments, this rover needs to be able to do it all on its own. So that 7-minute descent that it takes to get from the atmosphere to the ground, NASA's just waiting to see if it crashed or not, pretty much. And then, like you said, once they made the landing, everyone was, celebrated and cheering. Just a few facts, a few frequently asked questions on the NASA website. The spacecraft enters the atmosphere at 12,000 miles per hour. That's how fast it was going when it landed. The temperatures on the heat shield got up to 2,370 degrees Fahrenheit. Jeez. Or 1,298 degrees Celsius. The rover is being powered by this, it's called a multi-mission radioisotope thermoelectric generator. Pretty much, it takes heat from a radioactive plutonium and converts it into energy. The rover itself weighs about 2,260 pounds, which means it weighs less than a Volkswagen Golf. But in terms of size, it's 10 feet long, so as tall as a basketball net is long, 9 feet wide, and 7 feet tall. So it's a lot less compact, but a lot of a bigger footprint, right? You mentioned the helicopter on the bottom. So if you can imagine a shark with a remora on the bottom of the shark. So Perseverance has a little helicopter on the bottom of it. I guess that's the safest place when it's landing. So it's going to take about 1 to 2 months from right now for Perseverance to climb out of the crater that it that it landed in, find some sort of flat land that it can drop off Ingenuity, which is the name of the mini helicopter, so that it can, like you said, take aerial photographs and videos of Mars. Now, one thing that differentiates Perseverance from other rovers is it will be collecting samples, right? You mentioned this before. It's going to be collecting samples of rocks, of dust, of sediment, and it's going to be storing them with the idea that there will be later missions that come and retrieve these caches of Martian rocks, right? To take back to Earth so that scientists can then study them. So we can see, okay, what exactly is the makeup of Mars? Is there any evidence of, some sort of past life or some sort of water that was here in the past? I mean, it's pretty groundbreaking what's going on right now.
Yeah, 100%. And what you brought up there is perfect, because there's always been theories, like based off of like rudimentary imagery of Mars, that this planet was in a kind of a sort of Goldilocks zone where it could have potentially had, with some kind of atmosphere or, a better atmosphere, some kind of liquid on the surface, a liquid water on the surface, that could have potentially supported some kind of life. But it was always just a theory. And with Curiosity, there was kind of a little bit more evidence to support that theory, which is why I think Perseverance is so cool, because it's them trying to say, okay, this is our theory. This is the proof that we've had so far. Let's see if we can actually find concrete evidence of this. We know we have a time frame about 4 billion years ago. We know we have an area that we haven't fully, looked at in the past. We have the ability to take these parts that I was actually watching Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson and Chief of Science of NASA and JPL, where they were talking about there was just spare parts from Curiosity, like hundreds of millions of dollars worth of spare parts. So they're like, hey, let's try another mission. Let's try something different. Let's see how far we can take this. And I think this is such a cool thing to see. Okay, this is the next step. It's not just, like you said, not just another rover. This rover is different. This rover is designed to do different things and potentially prove or disprove a theory that a lot of people at NASA and a lot of scientists have had for a long time, which is insanely cool.
Curiosity, I believe it was August in 2012 when Curiosity first landed and kind of sent back some video footage. Mm-hmm. And I think I remember when that happened, and there was such a big deal of, this little robot on Mars sending pictures back to us, and everyone was so, amazed by it, and rightly so. It was an amazing feat. And maybe, I don't know, this is just the tech enthusiast in me. When you look at the pictures of Curiosity and the pictures that we've gotten so far of Perseverance, it is so much better quality.
Yeah, it
looks like an iPhone 3 compared to an iPhone 12 in terms of how high definition these photos are. So it's almost so clear to the point that you wonder if it's real.
Yeah,
because you think, okay, this is coming from another planet in the solar system. It's being beamed across space. How are they getting these HD bokeh effect pictures of this robot out there? Who's taking these photos? What Hollywood studio are you in? But I mean, it's a simple way to show, or it's a simple way to look at how far technology has come.
Yeah,
right. If we're putting these level of cameras, I guess, on a rover to Mars, but that's kind of what we have to do, right? We can't send people there yet, but this program, what's going on right now, is part of a bigger mission to eventually send people one day to Mars. I think the plan right now, like we both mentioned, is okay, this Perseverance robot is going to collect rocks and collect sediment, store them so that another mission, another spacecraft can go and collect these samples for us to study. There's going to be missions to the moon to, I guess, set up going to Mars. Mm-hmm. So along with, what's going on with Jeff Bezos stepping down from Tesla to work more on his Blue Origin project, which he says is his biggest concern right now, the most important thing he does, right? And obviously Elon Musk is always in the news, whether it be with Tesla or especially if it's with SpaceX.
Yeah.
Right? So it seems things are pointing more and more towards space exploration right now.
Yeah.
Right? The two richest people on the planet are both focused on getting humans to Mars, which is, it's not, it's not the two richest people are, oil tycoons or investment bankers. It's no, these are leaders of their industry who both, their mission is to get humans to Mars right now, which is pretty crazy to see.
Yeah. And, there's a lot of benefit to this. And I think NASA deserves so much credit for, obviously previous rovers and the Kepler Deep Space Telescope. There's so much more information we have about space, not just our solar system, but even solar systems beyond, because of this kind of interest in this the final frontier, so to speak. And we've gotten more information in recent memory than we ever had. But then there's also the very real fact that, if it's been said many times, whoever gets the chance to mine an asteroid is going to be, insanely wealthy, because the idea of the resources that are on these space rocks are so much more abundant than what is available here on Earth. And, I could imagine that anyone who can afford to would love to be able to say, we can do it. The moment it's available, the moment we have, one of these floating rocks with tons of whatever kind of rare metal you're looking for, it just happens to be close enough to get to, you have the technology because you spent the past decades developing it to actually go and accomplish that task. So yeah, I could imagine, people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, who just have this enormous wealth, can say, hey, this is how we keep it. We we start investing into the final frontier, we start investing in space, because whoever probably does that first is probably going to have the leg up. And we could see them going back and forth at who's going to be able to accomplish this first. And right now, Elon has a huge head start. But yeah, it's exactly what you said. This is technology. And if you want to be honest about it, Tesla, SpaceX, Amazon, these are huge tech companies. That at the end of the day, they revolve around the tech that makes their companies kind of thrive and prosper. And it's just crazy to see like this marriage of tech and science within like the whole space ecosystem to kind of. It seems like there would be no one else that could do this. Like I don't think an oil tycoon would be able to make this much progress into the exploration of space as NASA, SpaceX, and Blue Origin have done already. So yeah, no, it's awesome to see, and I can't wait to see what kind of information we get from Perseverance going forward in the next few years.
I guess a question I have for you, kind of similar to what you asked me last week. You asked, is this new Axie Infinity land purchase, is this the first step towards, I guess, things becoming more digital, right? This new Perseverance landing, this rover landing, with one of its main objectives of collecting rocks and sending them back to Earth to study, right? Would you say this is the first step towards humans colonizing Mars?
I would probably say no. I don't think it's that big of a step. Let me rephrase that. I think it's a huge step. I don't think it's a step in that direction. I think this is a step of us understanding the makeup of our solar system, to see, just how, and potentially even see, like, there's been theories that potentially with the impact that killed the dinosaurs, that potentially material from Earth could have been spread across the solar system and potentially even made its way to Mars. Like, I think that is more interesting. Sorry, not more interesting, but more of the goal is to finding out the origins and kind of the mysteries of our solar system, which it's so crazy to think, but we know so little about when you think about it. Like, we understand the physics, the orbits and all these things, the moons, the planets. We know that Pluto isn't a planet anymore. Like, we understand those things, but we don't understand the history of what exactly these spatial bodies are doing and why they're there and what their history was. And I think it's more of a step in that direction. I think we'll probably see a larger step into colonizing outside of Earth, and I don't necessarily think it would necessarily be Mars, but more from private companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin. I think it would be more of the aspirational kind of aspect to it as opposed to the scientific, which obviously there's going to be a lot of science to it, but I think it's just going to be more about how far can we push, as opposed to what are we trying to find out. I think NASA's mission is always going to be about information, whereas I think these private companies are going to be more about, headlines, essentially. And I think we're probably going to see more of that from Tesla or Blue Origin than we would from NASA. But how about you? How do you feel? Do you think that this puts us a step closer to that?
No, I guess I would agree with you, right? It's, sort of the same answer I gave before. Is it a big step? Is it the first step? No, not the first step. It is a step along the lines of, let's say maybe one day colonizing Mars. We got to find out what, I guess, the history of the planet is, what the makeup of the planet is. But I do agree with you that if it is going to happen, it would be someone like SpaceX or someone like Blue Origin, or maybe some other company comes along and does it. Some other
Virgin
billionaire
Galactic
does it. Pardon?
Virgin Galactic.
Could be Virgin Galactic. Could be Team Rocket. And I think that it would probably start with, let's say, the moon, right? There would be more colonizations, whether it be civilian colonization or, let's say, strictly for scientific purposes. There would be colonization of the moon first before there would ever be anything going to Mars. And newsflash, I'm no scientist, but I would say we're at least, 50, 100 years from colonizing the moon.
Maybe.
So
yeah,
it's, it's not a close step by any means, but as a science fiction fan, it gets my imagination going.
Yeah. And we're seeing a lot of stuff that inspire that kind of imagination with what SpaceX has been doing with their new kind of auto docking shuttles to the space station. Personally, what I would love to see is, I think we've heard a lot of talk from astronauts and stuff like that saying, hey, the International Space Station, it's getting up there in age. There needs to be some kind of advancement or replacement for that kind of idea. I would love to see this advancement in technology of what Tesla's been doing, what SpaceX has been doing, and what's been going on in NASA, to kind of say, okay, this is going to be a multi-decade project to finding a replacement, or the eventual replacement for the International Space Station. Let's get started on that now. So I would love for that to be the next step. So putting people in space, maybe let's start with upper Earth orbit, and then move to the moon, and then move to Mars. But yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of steps we need to take before we get there.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else on this topic?
No, I just want to reiterate, I think it's super cool. Can't wait to see more images. And I completely agree with you. I will never forget when Curiosity sent pictures. It was like, oh man, this is crazy, I can't believe this. And then for seeing from Perseverance, and it's like night and day. So it's just so crazy how just a few years can make such a big difference. I'm so curious to see what we see in the next year or two to come in this Perseverance mission.
Yeah, definitely. Take it easy, everyone in podcast land.
Catch you in the next episode.
Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you like weekly tech updates, you can check us out on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us under We Need to Talk About Tech. I'll post updates on when we release episodes on my Twitter. Also, please like and subscribe. It really helps out a ton. Until next time, take it easy. Peace.